We're talking about hashtag struggles. How do we follow Jesus in a selfie-centered world? I've got to be honest, I can be really obsessed with social media and technology because there's so many advantages, especially with social media. You get to see what your friends are doing. You can connect with people all over the world. You can FaceTime people with technology, and the advantages are really too many to count. But if we think about it for a while, there are also some disadvantages as well. And I want to talk about one of those today in this session and talk about the battle for contentment. Because let's think about it, especially with social media. The more we compare, the less satisfied we are. The more we compare with other people, what they're doing, what they have, where they are, the less satisfied we are with our own lives. And the reality is a lot of people blame social media because everybody else's life looks perfect. What happens? They're showing us their highlight reels, and we're comparing it with our behind the scenes. We see only the best of what they want to show us, and then we know what's going on in our everyday life. For example, just this morning, I was scrolling through Instagram, and I noticed a friend who was at a conference that I wish I was attending. I saw a person hanging out with another person that I wish I knew. I have a friend who was in Paris, another friend who was in Hawaii, and where was I? Stuck in my stupid office feeling bad about myself, because the more we compare, the less satisfied we are. In fact, researchers did a fascinating study from 2 universities where they met with students and asked them their feelings after spending a lot of time on Facebook. And what's crazy is that more than 1/3 of the students felt significantly worse after spending time on Facebook. And they cited the number one emotion they felt was envy. Envy. Why? Because the more we compare, the less satisfied we are. Chuck Swindoll said this, and to me this is so helpful. He said, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. It's 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. But let's be honest, for so many of us, it's the exact opposite. It's all about what happens to us, and we forget that our response has any real value at all. I want to talk to you about your response. Whenever you're tempted to compare and be envious, what do you do? 3 things to look at today with Christ's strength, because let's be honest, you cannot do this on your own. The first thing is this: through Christ's strength, we're going to kill comparisons. Through Christ's strength, we will kill comparisons. The minute you look on and see someone has a better house than you, or they've got more shoes than you could ever dream possible, or you weren't invited to a party, or you're not married and everyone else is getting married, or you look at how many followers someone else has, or how many likes they get, and you think, my life stinks. We're going to let Christ's power help us kill comparisons. In fact, James said this in James chapter 3, verses 14 through 16. He said, but if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or do not deny the truth. Do not boast about it or deny the truth. He says, such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but it's earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. What is envy? It's earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. He says, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder in every evil practice. So what do? Through Christ's power, we will kill comparisons. And for you, it may take some action. You may need to take a break from social media, or you may need to hide the feed of certain people that trigger that envy in your heart, or you may need to delete shopping apps. I don't know what it will be, but through Christ's power, we're not going to tolerate it. It's earthly, unspiritual, it's ungodly, it's demonic. We're not going to let it live in our lives. The second thing we're going to let Christ do is we're going to let Him teach us to celebrate other people's blessings. Through Christ's power, we will celebrate other people's blessings. Paul said it this way, Romans 12:15. He told us that we will rejoice with those who rejoice. In other words, if someone is blessed with a new car, we're going to celebrate that they have a new car rather than being jealous. If we see someone vacationing and we wish we were on vacation instead, we're going to thank God that they're blessed in this way. The same is true if someone gets a promotion that we wanted, we celebrate with them. Or we're trying to conceive and have a baby and yet we can't do it and everybody else seems to get pregnant by looking at each other. We're going to celebrate the way God blesses them. If someone else has more family time and we don't have enough family time, we're going to celebrate with them. If they've got a good marriage, we're going to celebrate that. If you're a guy and your buddies are at the game and you're not there, or you're a girl and your girlfriends are out to dinner, we're going to celebrate the blessings of others through Christ's strength. In fact, I learned a valuable lesson one time. I was actually driving between churches. I used to preach at both of them, and I drove by a small church that was struggling, and I prayed for them. I just prayed, God, bless this little church. Bless this little church. And I really felt like God was asking me, would I be happy if He blessed that church more than He was blessing our church? Well, our church was struggling a little bit at the time, and when that question came to me, would I be happy if God blessed them more? My honest answer was, no, I wouldn't. And I'm not proud of that, but that was my honest response. And in that moment, I realized this is a significant problem. And so I really started passionately praying and believing, God, I hope you bless them more than us. And if you do, I will celebrate all day long the way you've blessed them. Think about it this way. If you're upset about the way God is blessing someone else, that could be the very reason why God's not blessing you. Through Christ's strength, we're going to kill comparisons. We're going to celebrate His blessings in other people's lives. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to cultivate gratitude. Through Christ's strength, we will cultivate gratitude. Think about this. Someone defined envy this way. They said envy is resenting God's goodness in other people's lives and ignoring His goodness in your own. It's powerful. What is envy? It's resenting God's goodness in someone else's life and ignoring His goodness in your own. We're not going to be like that. We're going to be thankful when God blesses someone else. With Christ's help, we're going to cultivate gratitude. In fact, Solomon, the richest man of all time, he said this in Ecclesiastes 6:9. He said, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. I love that. Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. In other words, if you get tired of your car, you're going to say, God, thank you so much. You've blessed me with reliable transportation. Or if you think life is crazy, we're going to say, thank you, God, that you've given me people to love and things to do. If you look at your house and it seems so small, instead of complaining, we're going to be grateful. God, thank you for a roof over my head, for air conditioning in the summer and heat in the wintertime. If you don't like your job or your kids are stressing you out, thank you, God, that I have a job. Thank you, God, that you've blessed me with children. In fact, Paul was very direct in Philippians chapter 4, verses 12 and 13. He said this. He said, I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. There is a secret of being content. What is it? He said, here's the secret, don't miss it. I can do all this, not on my own, he said, but I can do all this through Christ who gives me strength. How can we be content no matter what we see, no matter what's going on around us? The secret to being content is that we can do all these things through Christ who gives us strength. Through Christ, we will kill comparisons. Through Christ, we will cultivate gratitude. Through Christ, we will celebrate His blessings in other people's lives. And the bottom line is this. When Christ is all you have, you'll recognize that Christ is all you need. When Christ is all you have, you'll recognize Christ is all you need. So, when you're tempted to look on and compare, the more you compare, the less satisfied you'll be. The good news is we have a power beyond this world. Through Christ's power, He will help us to kill comparisons, to celebrate blessings, and to cultivate gratitude.